Today we're talking all about dramatic lighting. How do we add depth, mood, drama and dimension to our photographs? Now before we get into the topic, I actually want to answer a question with a video. I was asked recently, what would I not do for a great photograph? Well, let me show you. This is really pretty, but concrete, flat would be awesome. And there's nothing we really can't do in Photoshop. This takes our friendship to a different level. Next time they get married, not doing it. I'm gonna do it over Skype or Zoom. Yeah. Yeah. I'm probably gonna stand where Darren is right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just be very, very careful. I know
Yeah, no, this is good. This feels good.
Do you want me to just... Oh my gosh, look at you.
Get some photos.
Oh, this is amazing. This is awesome. Holy shit.
What are you thinking? Will that work?
It's beautiful. Yeah. 1 second. So, Chrissy, switch your hips. That's it, and then bring that leg down and the other one over. And then Darren, you need to come around this way. No, other way. So your face will be on this side. Roll your hips more this way, Christy. More that way. There you go, that's perfect. Stay there. All right, now your right knee's up, your left knee down. Face that way, good. Close the gap. Again, guys, if I'm swaying, let me know. Okay, that makes me a bit woozy. Okay, all right, let me just find my feet, hold on. What's the worst that can happen? We fall, we ruin the wedding day. Giggling into each other, you just got married. We're on a rock. Beautiful, loving, squeezing, temple kissing. Oh, that's beautiful. 1 second, I'm just gonna enjoy that view for a second, hold on.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
So you're not afraid of heights?
No, not really.
Looking,
I mean,
not really, but this gives me a little
well, look, I'm not, but it's a healthy fear. I look down and I'm like, yeah, I could die, but yeah, it's all cool. So that was Christy Odom's wedding, a fellow Nikon Ambassador, an incredible experience. I was complaining, I was joking, but walking up there for 2 hours, but seeing the view and experiencing that, I didn't realize how scary it was until I saw the drone footage. But that's what it's all about, guys. And I'm not encouraging you to do that at home or anything like that. But for me, I mean, if you had to go, it would probably be the way to go. But anyway, we're talking about dramatic lighting. And certainly being able to look at these photographs and understanding where the light's coming from. We've got that beautiful sunrise light coming on the side. And if you've heard me teach before, you may have heard and seen me say, turn the body away from the light and the face back in, especially with the female form. If you turn the body away from the light and you get a shadow on the bust in the middle of the dress and turn the face back in until the light is in the eye that's close to the camera, now we've got shadows on the cheekbone and the jawline and everything is looking amazing. But let's get into the depth of what we're talking about. And that, of course, like I said, is dramatic lighting. And does it have to be a particular light source? I don't really care what you use. If it illuminates, use it. If it's a window light, if it's a strobe, if it's a speed light, if it's a reflector, if it's a combination of things, if it's existing ambient light, you need to use what's in front of you. I believe if you continuously use just one light source all the time, your work may look good, but it needs to be a symphony. Everything is always looking the same. I feel like when you're photographing in terms of a symphony, there should be some highs and lows. And when we're talking about drama, you can get dramatic photographs and dramatic lighting that give you those peaks and then of course those valleys, and it just takes you on a bit of a journey. So I feel like there should be a variety of different lighting sources that we use. We're not only there to flatter people and make them look pretty and beautiful and handsome, but there to be purposeful to describe what we want to describe. So it depends on what you're photographing and who you're photographing it for and so on. Now let's look at this particular photograph in this example. So here we have Lawrence and Lauren, and we're photographing them at their beautiful home. We've got the sunlight peeking behind them, so we've got beautiful backlight. The light is bouncing between them, looking really nice. We've got a dramatic shadow, and we're feeling good. Now, My suggestion is whenever you get a great shot, before you move the couple or your subject matter, is walk all around them. Do a 360 and you will find that you will start to see so many opportunities that you've missed before. Now, apart from you walking all around the subject, I want you to picture your couple or your subject on a turntable. So if you have them in good light, for example, if you're looking at me right now, if I turn my face this way, I've got that little bit of an edge light. I'm broad lighting myself here, and I turn my face back in, and you'll notice the quality of light change as my face and body moves. We need to actually understand that that's exactly how lighting works. Lighting can be in a situation in one particular direction. You can turn an angle and everything will look a little bit different. So when it comes to dramatic lighting, I feel that even more important than lighting, because we say technically lighting is the most important thing in a photograph, it's almost the opposite. It's almost that the shadow is the most important thing. It's that negative fill or taking away light that adds that depth and mood and drama and dimension. So think of it like we're illuminating something, we're taking light away, and then all of a sudden we've got exactly what we want. But let's describe it a little bit further. In this particular situation, I've taken the shot, then I went right around the other side of them, and then now, as you can see, you've got a bit of a glimpse of my EVF there on the bottom right and what I was basically seeing in my camera. Now, this is using full sun, and I find that many of us are afraid of full sun. Now, you might say, I'm not really afraid of it, but do you often find yourself photographing in open shade or backlighting almost everything or using strobe on everything? And my advice to you is, look at what's around you. You can't really beat the sun. Now, yes, you can overpower it with flash, you can do all these different things, but I feel like we're so obsessed with gear that sometimes we forget to connect with our clients. So let's keep on talking about our photographs here. So I've got the shadow of Lawrence there holding his hat in the foreground, leading our eye into Lauren. And as we discussed, we're turning her body away from the light and the face back in. Now, let's stay in that same location and move around a little bit, and then let's just see what we see. In this particular spot and location now, you can see that the sun is hitting that particular pillar, backlighting her, bouncing off the pillar and going back on her face. So if I simply change my angle, you'll start to see where this is going. So one light source, as in the sunlight, we've got backlight, hair light, edge light, hitting that pillar, and now we have our main light source, and now of course we have our finished photograph. I love the fact that we've got that beautiful warm light because you've got the warm tones being reflected from the sun on that rock and coming back. And again, even though that she's facing us, her body is actually turning away from the light source and then turning her face back in. Now we might want to add Lawrence in there, and now we've got a little bit of suggestion of him, and then we're mainly focusing on her. And then while we're there, why would we stop? Let's go a little bit closer. And again, that light is nothing else but the sun reflecting off that pillar. So you see those building blocks that I think most of us, and certainly myself at the start of my career, I would have gone for the obvious shot and I would have stopped there. I'm encouraging you to slow down, look around you, do a 360 around your subject matter, get your subject matter to actually turn left and right. They could keep the pose. It might feel funny, but you get them to keep the pose, and the lighting is going to look a little bit different depending on where you stand and where they stand in relationship to the light. What I'm always looking for is I'm looking for depth and dimension. I want to shoot on the shadow side of the face. Not always, but mainly. Now, this particular engagement session, I went into their house and there was a pocket of light falling in the hallway. Let's have a look. So if you can see very clearly that evidence of that beautiful direction of light, those strong shadows. I love the fact that we've got the door open a little bit there and it's looking really good. I wanted some depth and drama, so I put that shadow on the middle of his, on his face with the hat, and then I love the shadow of her eyelash, just making her eyes and eyelashes more pronounced, and it looks incredible. But again, maybe before this seminar, you may have just avoided these little pockets of light and always brought out a strobe or always brought out a reflector or diffuser. I'm saying do it all when it counts, but don't use the same lighting all the time because that would be boring. Again, think of your shoots as a symphony. As in, I want my highs and lows and peaks and valleys. I want clashing cymbals. I want the low tones, the baritones, and all those different things. We need to understand that lighting is not just meant to be flattering, it's meant to be purposeful. Okay, if you photograph weddings, or whether you're photographing portraits or domestic portraiture, so weddings and portraits, you may have seen this kind of style popularized. Everything's backlit, and we often refer this to, I think what's been popularized in our industry is light and airy. Even the blogs, even the brides are saying, I like light and airy. It's a trend. Now I'm telling you that's okay. If you specialize in light and airy and you make a great living, fantastic. But my suggestion is that there'll be times where light and airy works well for your subject matter, and there'll be times where you want to add depth and mood and drama and dimension. Now, if you look closely, that flower is actually giving us a beautiful reflection, and that's what's helping us out here. So if you look really closely, right there, boom, there it is. Beautiful reflection of light. And now, I'm not saying B&H now has flowers to sell as a reflector, but just know that if, let's say, a bride was about to actually smell a flower and the sun's coming behind her, you'll know there'll be a beautiful reflection of light on her face, so get ready to photograph it. And if we go a little bit wider, again, we've got that beautiful backlight, and it's been very popularized. Now, a lot of people who are photographing this light and airy style of photography will often expose for shadows, as in increase the highlights, and then the shadow gets brightened up dramatically, and hence, ironically, no drama. There's no drama in it at all. I'm saying I will do these kinds of photographs. In this case, being a ceremony, well, you know, it is what it is. I've got to photograph it, and this is probably a good position to play. Now, when I have a chance to actually direct my couples or my subject matters in different ways, again, you can see that little tickle of light on her face right now, kissing the hand. But watch what happens when all I do is simply change the angle in which he's standing, and now she turns her face to the light. We have a beautiful direction of light. Now, I want you to remember, if there's two people interacting and one direction of light, one person will suffer. Now, I'm not saying the groom is suffering or he looks terrible, but let's just face it, that direction of light is hitting the bride beautifully and not so much on the groom. It's just more of an edge light. But I'm just saying I want a heartbeat when you photograph, and I believe your clients do too, because a recognizable style is what a lot of people will recommend to you, that you need a recognizable style, that all your lighting be the same on your Instagram or everything be consistent, and that's okay. But what happens if you're versatile, or if you want to make things purposeful for the people that you're photographing, then it needs to be a little bit different. Otherwise, there's just not much flavor. Your work might be really good, but it needs a little bit more depth. Now, again, I'm not afraid to actually photograph with backlight or even having the sun in the shot for a little bit of flare. When suitable, it can look absolutely amazing. That's totally fine, but with a simple change of angle and a simple direction, and you can sort of see how her nose is also contained within the line of her cheek. It's often a rule that we've often referred to, and you might say, well, why would you contain the nose in the line of the cheek? Because the nose, if it surpassed it, it would look more pronounced. The other eye would look a little bit beady, and if you've surpassed the nose and the line of the cheek, you might as well go full profile. But I like this because it adds depth and drama and beauty and feeling. Now, if I was photographing for an engagement album, if I was photographing for a wedding album, well, I'm taking this one shot. I'll take my time rather than photograph 100 shots in this scene, knowing that only 2 or 3 will sell in a spread of an album. You simply just go to the next photograph, and we've got split lighting for the groom, very dramatic lighting, very what we call masculine lighting. It's very dramatic. And then she's turning her face to the light, but you can see where we stop, and she has those beautiful cheekbone and jawline that is pronounced, and we have that breathing room between her chin and her shoulder. And you can also see that his face fits into her face like an absolute puzzle. This is a really important one too. So for me, posing works well when two faces or bodies fit together like a puzzle and it becomes aesthetically pleasing. So if you don't know the nuances of posing, picture your faces and bodies like pieces of a puzzle, and it'll often work. This particular shot here, we've got ice lights on this shot. We've got an ice light from behind, ice light from the front. If you don't know what the ice light is, or ice light, if I say it in a more American accent, that was my invention about 10, 11 years ago, and we're very, very excited about the quality of light that it produces. And as you can see, there is a direction of light. There's barn doors that you can focus in the light, and we've got a direction. And again, if you've never really approached subject matter, or if you're new to photography, what I want you to do is hold a light, whatever it is, a continuous light, whatever it may be, and hold it to a person's face, and then watch what happens when you move left and right and forward and back. What will happen is you'll get details are more pronounced, you'll get texture in the skin more pronounced, and then you will find a face being slimmer, or fuller in the face, depending on the person. So if you don't understand anything, simply hold a light to someone's face and stop when it looks good. So let's keep on going. So you get the idea of this pattern that I'm talking about. I do like to shoot on the shadow side of the face. I do like depth and drama and dimension. And often I feel like we overcomplicate our gear. And don't get me wrong, B&H, I love you. You're fantastic. We've got great gear. It's awesome. But you've got to learn when to use the gear, when you just want to geek out for the having fun, and when it's going to be purposeful for who you're photographing. Let's keep on going. So here is a behind-the-scenes shot of this beautiful couple that we basically photographed. And as you can see, there's an open garage door and the light's flooding through. Life is good. Now, what do I do? Well, I feel like there's just too much light on the bottom. I need to cut away light. Now, you might say, Jerry, I can do that in Photoshop. I'm like, well, you do that, and I'll have more time with my family. So there's ways of doing it. Nothing beats a great exposure right there, right then, that you can actually manipulate as much as you want after the fact. So a good exposure is important, and I believe in camera artistry as much as anyone. So if you can do it in camera, why wouldn't you? So let's look at the after shot now. If you look on the bottom right there, I've actually basically put a board, an 4x8 sort of piece of board. You can go to Home Depot and get one of these. You can even paint it black or anything like that. It costs like 10, 20 bucks. But I'm cutting away light on the ground, and it's keeping my attention towards the couple. But if you look at this a lot closely, you get an idea of that beautiful quality of light. And I'm turning the body away, as you can see, of the groom here, turning his body, light filtering through, and then you've got her turning her body there as well. That little knee up on the chair just adds a bit of mood and feeling and drama and everything like that. Later on this evening, what we did is actually, we've got these beautiful old Hollywood lights, and we used some Westcott flex lights to create this portrait. Good. Okay, ready? Go for it. Good. Just waiting for the right. There we go. Eyes at me. Tilt. Confident there. Awesome, man. So you've got that film noir look that you've often seen in old movies and certainly represented everywhere. Like if you watch a movie poster, you will always have a little bit of edge light, usually on both sides, even on me right now, as you can see. Now, that beautiful light that's filtering through on the side, they're old Hollywood lights. We sprayed, I think, some atmosphere aerosol, and we added some mood there as well. That hand positioned on him, very, very strong, feeling really good. That works really well. It's a very masculine pose. I'm not saying women can't do it. I'm just saying that as if you want to represent strength, fantastic. Now, if you all of a sudden change your angle, that hand might look a little bit different. So for example, this angle, the hand can look soft and delicate, but then this can look quite strong, or you can do it the other way. Does that make sense? So everything needs to be purposeful. Okay, so I was photographing this couple. Really, really strong guy, big muscles, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I'd love a shot with just his face and his tattoos and his arm and all that kind of stuff, and I need to block out some light. So this was just a candid shot as I was photographing him, as I was getting to know him a little bit better, all that kind of stuff. Then I positioned him on a table, and now as you can see, the light is just flooding him. We're not really adding any kind of depth and drama and feeling to this particular shot. But then if we cut away light, we take it away, we get something like this. So now this one, certainly if you were him, you would think this is a lot more flattering, looks amazing. The tattoo's featured, it's framing his face, and it's chiseling his face with cheekbone and jawline and all that kind of stuff. Now look at behind the scenes photograph here. You'll see that I'm actually using a reflector to cut away light. Doesn't matter what you use. It could be a piece of paper, it could be the jacket, it could be anything. Doesn't really matter what you use, just know that you can go from that left shot to the right shot very, very easily by cutting away light. So remember that. Okay, so this particular photograph, you might think this is a very complex setup and lighting. It actually is not. This is just an open garage door. I've got a black background right behind him, and then I've got an ice light, a continuous LED light that's just tickling the side of his body. Now, what I did is, if you actually want to make biceps look fuller and bigger, get the fists, bring them underneath the biceps, and then bring the hands down. Now, he's a cute kid, but he sort of had the sensibility of an adult, and I think he wanted to look all macho and a little bit older. So I deliberately got him to basically broaden up his shoulders and get the biceps all strong and everything like that. Now, if you look at this closely, you've got the light on his chest. I wanted to take away light like this, and you can see that in camera, I get a lot better shot. So let's go back again, and let's go back again. And this is in fact how we did it. I just simply had a white piece of card and we took away the light and it looked a lot better. Now let me go a little bit further. I'm going to show you some different styles of portraits. I'm going to show you some wedding photographs now. I'm going to show you some more portraits as well. But remember, today's topic is all about increasing drama and depth and mood and feeling. Many of us are very afraid of the sun. So when you look at a shot like this, you're thinking, okay, look, that looks pretty cool. I think that many of us arguably will run away from these pockets of light that fall through a bedroom window or something like that. But what I'm doing here with him is split lighting him, light from one side and not the other, and then the shadow cuts nice and wide and all that kind of thing, beautiful negative space, and it works really, really well. Now let's look at this next photograph. This is simply him now turning his body towards the light source. So you remember that I told you that with a female form, you might want to turn the body away from the light and the face back in until the shadow's on the cleavage, middle of the dress. And we turn the face back in until we get nice light in this particular eye, okay? Or the other way, depending on the angle that you're at. With guys, I tend to turn the body towards the main light source and then turn the face back in. So think of it like the face is exactly where it should be, but then the body moves left and right depending on what you're trying to do, whether it's masculine, feminine, strength, vulnerability, whatever you're trying to say. Now, with this shot, obviously he's turning his face towards a light source and I've got beautiful shadow on the side of his face. If I simply take a few steps to the right, I get this photograph. And I allow for a bit of negative space. It works really, really well. And I'm often not afraid also to crop in camera rather than go too wide and too safe. Otherwise, I've got more work to do after the fact. Now, let me show you now the next thing I did, and that is I looked around, I saw a mirror. I thought, wouldn't it be cool to put the mirror in a certain place and get another cool shot of our groom? All right, man. Okay, so I'll get you to stand right in front of it. Actually, you know what, Johnny? I might get you to hold the mirror for me, mate. And go flatter to me, mate. Okay, hang your body forward again. Good, and one step a little bit this way. Good, there, that's perfect. Okay, man, hold it there. Hint of a squint again. Eyes back at me. Good. So you can see how we quickly just added a bit more drama, not only with the lighting, but we added the mirror and the reflection. We got his actually face to frame himself, and that little bit of a gap between his arms and his body actually forms his silhouette, and it works really well. Now the next shot, I'm thinking, all right, I need something or some photograph to go with this one. So I saw a coffee table in another room, and I'm like, well, let me grab a piece of glass and let me do a really cool reflection. Again, therefore adding a little bit more drama and something a little bit different. Hey, John and Jim, can you grab that piece of glass for me? So just gently bring it out and then hands in the pockets again and a lot closer towards me. That's it. Good. Turn your face towards me. Good. Chin up a little bit. Turn your face more this way. Good. Okay. So you hold there and Jimmy, you hold there and then hold up to about this height. Okay. Tilt it this way. Okay. Now, Matthew, just come a bit more that way, mate. Good. Turn your face this way. Good, and then a little bit lower. And then tilt this way. Oh, no. Good, hold it there. And then come a little bit closer to the mirror. Awesome, dude, that's awesome, hold it there. Oh, it's good, dude, hold it there, hold it, don't move. Awesome, hold it. Perfect, relax, thank you.
Forget the picture. Look at this badass setup.
That's funny. That's so good. So you may be wondering how I recorded the EVF in my camera. So we've got two Holy Lands. So we've got a Holy Land transmitter and a receiver. We're plugging in through HDMI. And then, as you can see there, we've got an Atomos, which is basically recording the footage as well. It ends up being just wireless. I can move around without a cord, and I'm recording whatever my camera sees, and that's the way I like to teach, because I want you guys to see what I see in my camera, therefore a better learning experience. Okay, so let's move on. Now, this was across the road from the church. It was open shade. It's nothing fancy. There's nice, beautiful landscape there, or streetscape, and a nice little pose. Fantastic. It works well. It's easy. But like I said to you earlier today, I want a bit of a heartbeat. I want a bit of depth and mood and drama and feeling with what I'm doing. Now, I go with this kind of a shot, which is more, you would say, environmental. So now I've gone a little bit closer and I'm photographing a traditional full-length portrait of this couple. Nothing fancy again. I often say eat your vegetables first and then have your candy. So I'll take this portrait and then now I can do something a little bit different. Let me do a different full length of them. So if I go closer to the wall and turn their bodies towards the wall, that wall cuts away some light, therefore adding some more shadow. So if you look at them side by side now, you'll clearly see that shot on the right-hand side, although very subtly, is actually got more depth and drama because we're seeing a shadow on the side of the face. Now yes, if perhaps you have subject matter, maybe you have parents or grandparents, maybe you have mature age skin, you have acne or anything like that, facing the subject matter towards the light and having that light flooding through, you may want less descriptive lighting, and that's okay. You might actually have dramatic lighting and then maybe take away those blemishes in Photoshop, because if you add shadow and depth and mood and drama, then you're going to see more texture. So you've got to be careful of that as well. Let's keep on going with this couple. If you look closely at the bride, there's a soft shadow on her face. It's because that light is cutting across and then that wall is cutting away the light. Now, if we focus now on the groom, he's got a little bit more depth and a bit more mood on his face because his face is closer to the wall, therefore cutting away light. Now, let's show you some more examples from this wedding. This is a traditional full length. Just remember, the more people that you have, the less lighting options you have also. In other words, if we've got one direction of light and we've got someone facing the light, facing away, whatever, not everyone will have the good light. So in this case, if I'm photographing a family portrait, if I'm photographing a big group or bridesmaids, whatever, I'm going to use flatter lighting and give myself permission to do that and not so much go for the drama. Although, I'm going to show you very, very soon how we can actually increase that. So let's go a little bit closer. Okay, so maybe lean forward, chins up, a little bit more intimate, maybe some interaction. But now let's look at the difference between that flat lighting that we're using and then using the New York skyline with the full sun, and now it looks a lot more dramatic. Now you might say, well, how did you get them to look at the camera when the sun was blaring down? Well, often I will say, hey, look at this tree, or look at the top of that building, whatever. And they might be doing this, and I'm like, okay, this is where I want you to look, so they know where to look. Okay, close your eyes, relax your forehead. Don't anticipate the sun because you'll already be squinting. Okay, on the count of 3, look at that particular point that I asked you to. 1, 2, 3, click. And then they can squint all they want. Now, just while we're here, obviously we can create drama with lighting, but we can also create drama by simply just moving the bridesmaids around, turn and face that way, only have the bride look at me, for example. Let's go back to the bridal party shot that we did earlier, traditional full-length portrait, but then shooting in full sun, chins up, nice and strong, really beautiful, and we get so much more drama. Don't be afraid of the sun. Quite simply, if you don't make a weakness a strength, it'll continue to be a weakness, and there'll be a time in your career where you'll just have to shoot in a particular lighting situation that you haven't practiced yet. So make sure you practice what you do for a living, or whether it's a hobby or anything like that. Make sure you practice also when you're not getting paid. Like, have some fun so that all of a sudden, that if you are getting paid for it, or you're photographing a particular subject matter you haven't done before, if you've lit it before, at least you've got one less problem to worry about. Check this photograph out. We're running out of time, so I split the bridal party up. We had the bride and groom in the foreground, and then all of a sudden we got a beautiful shot. Do you notice how she's turning her body away from the light source? Her chin is up towards the light, and he's turning his face in, and then all of a sudden we get a beautiful shot and very different. And again, we're in the exact same location, full sun. How many ways can you photograph a bridal party? Again, we've got the girls in the foreground, now the guys in the background. We're adding drama, not only with using that dramatic, beautiful, contrasty light that the sun gives us, but also adding that little depth and adding that streetscape or the city skyline to frame the guys from behind. But look at the difference between that bridal party photograph that we did to that very contemporary one in the foreground. Now let's keep on going. So while we're there, we kept on playing and photographing. So she turns her body away from the light, turns her face back in, they turn it into each other. We've got that beautiful skyline looking great. Then I go a little bit closer, deliberately causing a deep shadow of his face onto hers, and it works really well. For me, when I'm cropping a face, whether it's actually cropping in camera, whether it's cropping with a piece of like a hat or a dress or something, or a hoodie, I usually have the feature either in or out, in or out. In this case, the eye is in or out, not cropping halfway into the eye. Now this next photograph, I thought, wouldn't it be cool to get like a shot where we've got the bride in the car and then we've got the groom in a reflection on the outside. Now remember, if we've got a reflection of the groom with full sun, then I need to add contrast to the bride to get that exposure to match. Let's have a look. Now, many of us may have done this with a speed light or a strobe, which of course you can, but don't forget that reflector that you've bought, that you've kept in your trunk, your whole career and you haven't used, can give you an incredible quality of light. If you're using the silver side, most people say, well, if it's cloudy, use the silver side, there's more contrast, and if it's sunny, use the white side. Well, there's no hard facts. Quite simply, if you want more contrast and it's full sun and you've got a fashionable couple like this one, then why not go even further? Let's now see the next photograph that I did to complement that previous one. So there you see a very, very beautiful, fashionable photograph that you would swear that was probably done with a speed light or a strobe. Like I said, I have no problem with what you use. Make your life easier, get more shots, make them count, make it more fruitful, and give me, like I said, a heartbeat. Give me some feeling here. Now, let's go to another wedding. This is one of my muses, Lisa. She's an incredible person, and we photographed her wedding recently in Cabo. Now, here, I got to admit, I went for the location. The location is pretty, there's a nice archway, I got her to dance a little bit, have some fun, but the lighting is not perfect. Certainly we have the colors bouncing all around, so we don't have the skin tones perfect, but then if we simply change our angle and get the lighting cutting across, we get more depth and mood and drama and feeling by this. Certainly the expression and them having fun looks fantastic, but look at them side by side. One, you would say, is quite typical. It's that light and airy look and feel, but then the other one gives you a little bit more depth. Quite simply, the more shadows that you have, and the more highlight shadow you have, the deeper the shot will look, the more three-dimensional it'll look, hence the drama. Okay, let's go to this next particular shot. This was at the beach, and we first had some fun photographing the couple with no flash, and then we'll add some flash and I'll show you the difference.
Now, do me a favor, you picked her up in a, you know when you did the reveal? I want you to pick her up again. So you basically hugged her underneath her butt cheeks and then you stood up. Go for it. That's it. Throw your head back, darling. Throw your hair away. There you go. That's it. Motorboating now.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
That's awesome.
So there we were with Lisa and Dylan having some fun, and as you can see, we're just using the ambient light around us. Now, if you look at the actual water behind them, it's all sort of blown out. You see a little bit of color, that's fine. And excuse my laugh as well, because I believe it's annoyingly contagious, but I'll take that as a win. Now, let's add a bit of drama. Now, of course, we all would love the Simpsons clouds above the horizon, but sometimes you just don't get that. So what I want to do is I'm going to expose for the background that I want, get my exposure right, and then I'm going to add some flash in. Here we're actually using the FJ400, the Westcott FJ400, with the Joel Grimes Beauty Dish. Let's have a look.
Point the toe bend the knee this way. That's great. Bring your bodies closer. Golden rule. See an imaginary line. You can just see her face. Cool. Okay, guys, both of you look at the same spot. Look at the champagne glasses. And then Lisa, turn your face a bit towards me. Open up a little bit. Good, beautiful. Don't move. Hold it. Stunning. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Now, if you want some more warmth in your photographs, you may not have thought to actually, in your camera, why don't you put the white balance on shade, and then all of a sudden you've got more warmth. And then certainly you can play with your picture controls. Now, yes, I'm shooting raw. Yes, I can do this after the fact, but sometimes we just don't think about doing that. So I like to get it right as much as possible in camera. Of course, we have some negative space behind them. That represents mystery. If there's negative space in front of the couple, that represents harmony. And of course, as you can see too, the couple's head and shoulders are above the horizon, which I very much favor. But look at the difference between that light and airy look, which is fine, and then adding a bit of drama. Am I saying favor one or the other? No, I'm saying do it all. Have some fun. Give your work a heartbeat, as we've been discussing. Now, I love photographing military weddings. I haven't photographed many in my career. This particular one, we've got just some window light cutting across, and I felt like I needed a bit of separation between his face and the background. So let's have a look at the video and you'll see what happens. Okay, good. What I want you to do, lean forward, that's it, and then front onto me, that's it, just perfectly straight towards me. Good. Johnny, can I have a bit of light on this side? Sure. Put your hands behind your back there, mate, again. Let's have a look. Turn the light off for a second, John, and then turn it on. Awesome, hold it. There's your new Facebook profile. So if you look at the difference, so now we have that beautiful depth and dimension. In fact, this very light that's falling on me right now, that little bit of an edge light works really well. And that's exactly what we're seeing in the difference between these two photographs. You can see also the shot on the right-hand side, I've warmed it up a little bit, so that works out well. But life is good. Remember, just adding that little bit of an accent light can make all the difference. Now, what happens if you're photographing in full sun? You're photographing a groom or a guy, doesn't matter in what context, but don't be afraid of the sun. Like I mentioned, get in there, have some fun, use the shade, use the depth, and go for it. There you go, perfect. And then your face a little bit this way, to the left or to right, right. More. Stop, chin up. It's good, man. And eyes sort of above my head, this way. That's awesome. Hold it. Good, don't move. Good, man. Eyes at me. So you can sort of see there that I actually photographed in black and white in my camera, but then of course I can do whatever I want afterwards for the album, whatever I'm producing it for. So literally across from where I photographed this portrait was this particular context. Now, it's very Phoenix. It was in Phoenix, Arizona, and it was amazing. Now, one thing that I've always been afraid of is actually to fall in cactus or cacti. Not too sure in what context that would be appropriate, but here we are. It finally happened. That hurts. Don't do that.
Don't pull out with your hands. Jimmy, don't pull out with your hands.
So you could hear me giggling nervously because I was in a lot of pain. I didn't want to show it too much in front of the guys, but you could see their collective sigh for knowing my pain there. And then Melissa, my wife, had to come to the rescue to take it out.
No, don't go easy, go easy. Go easy, pull it out. Double up on the towel.
No, don't push it towards me. What are you going to do for a great photograph these days? It is what it is, guys, but it's a great story to tell after the fact. But these are the shots that we got out of it. Beautiful sort of landscape. We had all the guys sort of floating across, almost like a movie poster or a band poster or a group poster. And this is the other shot that we took with it as well. But remember, don't be afraid of the sun. The golden rule is turn the face up towards the light and then stop when you see a shadow on the side of the face and you get beautiful cheekbones and jawlines. And remember, always look for shafts of light. The difference is that many of us are always photographing backlight, but it's amazing what you can do in the sun. Now, if you are photographing in the sun, why don't you think of poses, in this case a heterosexual couple, to be able to look down into each other, maybe kissing or temples touching. Remember to use your eyes down poses in the sun so that you're not duplicating your poses afterwards when you've got more freedom, perhaps like an open shade, for example. Now look what happens if I simply just take a few steps to the left and I get something like this. Or if I change my angle and perspective, I get something like this. Remember, your photograph should have a heartbeat. And this one, of course, I would love the Simpsons clouds, but I didn't get them. I had off-camera flash, and this is where I took it. Now this was all taken in a series of maybe 10 minutes, but we've got a different look for every single one of them. Either it's by angle or perspective or just changing my direction. Now, just sitting here, we're actually having fun photographing in my backyard. We've got the light filtering through and basically in this particular mesh. Now, if you look on the side of it, now I'm noticing this beautiful texture and this pattern on her face. So you can sort of see the light coming through there, and now you'll see exactly what I did in my camera. Have a look. Just there. Okay, don't move. So if you look at these photographs, this was all done with the sun through mesh. Now, if you didn't have the sun, but you've done this before, straight away that creative trigger in your brain will be, wait a second, if I get a strong light source, a la a speed light or a strobe, and bring it way, way, way back, then boom, it's actually going to cause that shadow. The minute I bring that strobe close to those holes that mesh, it's going to filter out and you would not see this kind of texture that you're basically seeing now. Remember, pockets of light is what it's all about. Can you come down one butt shuffle, one step, and come more this way so the sun hits you? Okay, and do that for me. And then right over there. Good. And now lean forward with your shoulders. Good. And then turn your face this way. Stunning. Hold it. 1, 2, 3. Open. So we've got a strong pocket of sunlight coming through, and we've got the shadow of the shadows right on that little on that wall as well, which looks amazing. We expose for her, as in we expose for the quality of light that we want on her, and then everything else goes dark and dramatic. Then I simply change my angle, and we get something like this. Tilt this way. More. Turn. Stop. So I love just changing my perspective there and seeing that little hint of light, but that shadow is way, way, way on her face, and now we get that beautiful depth and drama simply by turning her face in relationship to the light. Now, if we go a little bit closer and allow for some negative space, even more dramatic still. And remember, press the pause button, change your angle, and then you've got something a little bit of a different still. Had the pleasure and privilege of actually photographing Ashley Amber, an incredible artist. And here we've got actually 3 ice lights. We've got 2 ice lights, one on either side, adding a little bit of edge, and then one with barn doors right in the middle of her body. And we've got some beautiful depth and drama. Now, certainly the fact that she's gorgeous and we've got an incredible look, and the frohawk is amazing. Now you add Sean to the mix, and then we've got that split lighting on him, beautiful quality of light on her, bit of negative space, and life is good. Now, recently for the Z9, the Nikon Z9 campaign, had the privilege of being one of the first in the world to photograph with the Z9. And here, as you can see, I'm photographing and turning her body away from the light source and the face back in. We get a shadow on the cleavage, life is good. And if I simply change my angle and we get that little tickle of light on the bust, that tickle of light on the face, the eye focus grabs that contrast beautifully and evenly. And then we change our exposure a little bit, bring her closer to the camera. And then as you can see, it gives us a completely different look. Now, recently at a workshop, I had a member of the audience say, Jerry, I'd like you to demonstrate doing a different kind of detail shot. And now I was actually photographing with my EVF plugged into the projector so everyone could see what I was doing in my camera. And then I'm thinking to myself, well, how different can you make a detail shot in front of an audience with nowhere to move but within a 10-foot radius? Well, I played with my multiple exposure, and here's what I got. I'm going to do 3 shots here now. I'm going to do a 3-shot multiple exposure. Okay, multiple exposure. I want it on. I want 3 shots. Overlay mode. I want it darkened. Chin up for me. A bit more. Too much? Come back. Good. Don't move. Turn that way, face the wall. Good. This is profile. Good, hold it. Now, come this way. Okay, face that way, good. Chin down. There you go. Isn't that fun? So you can see how cool it is to photograph a multiple exposure, and in this case with the Nikon camera system, that when you take that first photograph, that base photograph, it gives you a ghosting effect, so it tells you where you are. All right, let's go back outside now and let's take a really cool portrait of a groom using full sun. Right about here, hands in the pockets, up like that. So cross over like that, little shuffle this way. Good. So look where your face is pointing you. The count of 3, really cool. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. So love Derek here. Looks amazing with that shadow cutting across, leading your eye right in, and we've got that depth and drama like we said with those shadows and highlights. Remember, the more highlight and shadow that you see in a single photograph, the deeper and more three-dimensional it'll look, hence more drama. So if you isolate the beauty in any location, But it's amazing. I think many of us tend to look at a location and get intimidated by light, intimidated by the things that we see, but I tend to always look at the positive in life, let alone as a photographer, and it translates. So recently at WPPI, I was doing a photo walk, and I had Sean, great friend of mine, a great performer. We're walking all around, and I was showing my students how to recognize creative triggers in the environment. Where most of us would walk past a location, I'm diagnosing and assessing every single thing that I see. My creative trigger was the shadows on a particular blind. Have a look. Okay, so the creative trigger here was those beautiful little shadows. So I sort of want to emulate that in a different way. Just sort of sink into that. There you go. Yep. So that everything about in that shot is mysterious. Therefore, it becomes powerful. Now, you might be looking at my crop ratio as well. I'm actually shooting a 16:9 vertical, and I'm cropping in camera. Now, certainly I can shoot 2:3 and crop afterwards. That's totally fine. But I like to see what I believe my final result will be in my camera, so I prefer that. Going back to the Nikon Z9 campaign that I told you that I contributed to recently, this was actually photographed with the sepia picture control. And although I believe the sepia style picture control in the Nikon camera system is a glorified mistake, it is amazing. Sepia implies monotone. It's just the tones of, say, brown to white. But the tone that the sepia picture control gives you is a blend of a desaturation with a bit of sepia thrown in. Now, as you can see with this particular light, the light's going right through. This is a garage door being open, falling right through, and you can see that shadow leading your eye into him. That was simply an 8x8 foot scrim jim from Westcott, bringing right up to cut away some light, so get that background a little bit darker and to lead your eye in. Now, this photograph, it was a bird's eye view, and we're photographing Dashenka here, and if we look at the next photograph, you'll see where the light's coming from. Again, an open garage door. But I needed to cut away some light, so I added an 8x4 foot board, put it horizontal to the ground, and I cut away light, as you can see. So remember, it's not about just what you illuminate, it's actually what you take away. This is one of my favorite shots from the Z9 campaign, and this was using a 50mm f1.2, and love that the eye focus grabbed the eye even though that she was looking down, and it just made that background milky smooth and beautiful. It looked absolutely incredible. I also had the privilege recently of photographing a Native American wedding, and I'd never photographed one. And actually, she was a friend of mine, Devon, and she's part Native American, and same with her husband. And I loved it because we had full-on regalia, and I learned more about the culture. It was absolutely amazing and breathtaking to do. So this was just using window light coming from the side. It's broad lighting him, it's split lighting. It's not a great photograph, but I want something a little bit more dramatic, something a little bit more moody. So I basically put together this. I want you to kneel down because the light's better there, so just sort of kneel on the ground. Can you grab the ice light for me? Can you move your body out of the way? And then do that for me. Can I have one of you guys? Can I just have one of you here? So I need you to block some light on him. No, so I need you to sort of sit down and just do that. I want you to block out the light on his body. Yeah, it's better. Or some. So as you can see, I used a human gobo, as they call it, a human negative fill to take away the light. I didn't really tell him what I was doing, but I'm like, he doesn't have to know. Just sit down, lean forward, cut away light. Then we added an ice light behind, and then we get this look in camera, which looks great. Now let's compare the difference between that first photograph that we took and then that second one. Then I thought, wouldn't it be cool to put a fashionable spin on a Native American wedding photographs? Now, I actually did a lot of stoic poses to almost make you feel like those photographs were done like decades ago or long time ago. And then I wanted to add a bit of a fashion flair. So he actually had some war paint on him during the ceremony. Then after it, I got her to smudge it and do a bit of a voyeuristic sort of look and feel with our bride afterwards, which I really enjoyed. Then as we were driving along and we're looking for different locations, I saw this incredible tree, but the lighting was very flat. So I added a strobe right behind the tree and then just popped it, boom, so I can get a bit of contrast. Okay, can you guys just go, see that the light just past that shadow? Just go there for me. Oh, now it goes, look at it.
Don't be bad.
For me, please. I'll get this, but
Sure.
I'll get the 85 as well. All right, guys, hold each other's hands and then foreheads touching.
Gorgeous, guys. Hold it there. Stunning. Beautiful, guys. Relax.
So I determine my exposure for what I want in my camera. So I don't overthink my exposure. Quite simply now with mirrorless cameras and being able to see live exposure, live white balance, simply just move your dials until it looks good. Now that I've got my exposure right, the flash, there's no flash in the shot yet, so that gives me the contrast, that gives me the punch, and that's what I get. So I want to finish up with a couple of really cool shots here. This was the final shot of the day. And this sort of tells you and reminds you from the beginning of our presentation today when I told you I would pretty much do anything for a great photograph, within reason. This one, I was on my way home. I had a long day. I was home free. I was actually ready to go to Buffalo Wild Wings and have a nice meal after the wedding. And as we're driving off, I see this rolling fog. And I call it my creative conscience. I said to myself, wouldn't it be great to go back, get the couple, take them back here, go over the fence, and take a really cool shot. The minute I say that and I teach my students, that's your creative conscience telling you that you must do something about it. Don't be lazy, have some fun. That's exactly what we did. We did a U-turn, grabbed the couple, we jumped the fence, and the rolling fog was still there, and we took this shot. Have a look.
Okay, stop there. Michael, what I want you to do is I want to feel like you're walking this way. So you're going to be holding her like this.
Okay.
Can you put the flash behind him? Okay. Okay, look back at your missus, mate. That's it. Look at each other. Guys, we got it. Yeah. It was worth it.
So I turned my white balance to shade, which gives me more warmth. I had the ice light as a continuous light, basically backlighting the couple, and then we added strobe, and then we filled up the environment with what you can see. I like the fact that the light is filtering through the couple, and then you see the fog beyond him, but both light sources are behind her. So she's more visible, her silhouette is more crisp, and his is sort of almost more ghostly, which I feel like the spirituality went with the Native American feel, and it was a great way to finish off that wedding. I'm going to show you one more thing, and I really hope you enjoy this, and I'm very, very proud to share it. My team and I recently, we photographed and filmed performers, and what we wanted to do is film performers in a way that gave us almost like a music video of them performing to show off the capabilities of the Z9. Now, guys, I don't really care what camera system you use as long as you're getting the results you are looking for. I want to share my joy with you and my passion for what I do. The last couple of years have all certainly been very hard for us, but I wanted to share with you a creation that my team and I produced of performers, and we'll go to it right now. And before we go to it, just to remind you, if you want to learn more from me, go to jerryghionis.com, and certainly if you want to follow me and my work, follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Jerry Ghionis. Enjoy the video and hope to see you next year. Thank you, B&H, for the opportunity. Thank you, Nikon, for the opportunity as well. Hope you enjoyed that. And remember, repetition, experience, and practice will be your best teacher. See you soon.